All right, so today we're going to be exploring the range. What do I mean by that? These kinds of questions. These are actual regions questions. What's the range of the relation y equals 2x squared plus 3x if the domain is that set? So let's pick out some key words. Domain is this, and then this is what we're trying to figure out. What's the range? Okay. So what comes to mind when I say the word domain? X, right? It's telling you that x can be -2, -1, and 0. And what's the range essentially when x is -2, when x is -1, and when x is 0? How do you find that out? Yeah, like let's think. What do you think? What do you think you have to do? You could plug it into the calculator, absolutely. Let's do that. In fact, the long way of doing it is right. We could sub this into the equation. And let me show you. Let me just do one of them. I'm going to take this and I'm going to figure out what its corresponding y value is. So if you wanted to do that, you would plug it in, y equals 2 times, and then let me do this. Right? What am I going to sub in? I'm subbing in this number over here. So I'm subbing in -2 and I'm subbing in -2. And then this is already a lot of work. That's 2 times 4 minus 6. That's 8 minus 6, and 8 minus 6 is 2. Good? You could already cross off 3 and 4. Now I showed this to you because I want to talk to you about real life stuff. We could have made lots of mistakes in this, right? I could have dropped a negative. There's lots of moving parts. The calculator can do these super fast, and it's super efficient, and I want to show you how to use it. Here's what you do. Grab your calculator. Oops. Okay. Grab your calculator, and enter into your calculator the original equation, 2x squared plus 3x, and then go to our table of values. What does our table of values represent? On the x, on this side over here, these are all the things you plug into the equation. On this side over here is everything that comes out of it once you plug it in. And so what you're not seeing is all of this work. But anytime you want to plug stuff into an equation now, instead of doing it by hand, right, unless I ask you to show all work, or even if you do it by hand, this is a real fast and easy way to check your answer. Okay, so what's the range? What's the range? What is the range? You guys get it. Lil, what is it? Yeah, it's 2, -1, and 0. Very nice. And so that's choice 2. All right. The range part is this y column over here. So let's look at -2. When x is -2, when the domain is -2, in other words, the range is 2. When the domain is -1, the range is -1. And finally, when the domain is 0, the range is also 0 as well. And so that's how I got that. Are you okay with this? What happened, man? I'm sorry. Let's go. All right, so now we're dealing with a different situation. In the previous example, we had the funny-looking brackets. When you have funny-looking brackets like these indicate individual numbers. Now we not only have the funny-looking brackets, but we have an inequality in between, and so it's an entire area of space. And for anybody that was absent on Friday, who was absent on Friday? We talked about some new notation. New notation was that anywhere you see f of x, and this is still going to hold true for part of today, I want you to put a y. It's just fancy function notation. So this is the same thing as 2x plus 1. No. So let's talk now. Problem number 2. Problem number 2, we talked about that now instead of asking for individual numbers, we're talking about an area of space. Which integer is not in the range? Well, let's use our calculator again. Let's use our calculator again. Go into the y equals screen and put down the equation that we're talking about, 2x plus 1. Now, what do you want to do? You want to look at a picture? You want to look at the yeah. Let's take a look at a picture. Let's take a look at a picture and hold on for 1 second because I need to make a cut. Let me grab this for a minute. Let me grab my calculator. Let's make it really big and gigantic. Oops. There we go. I know. Just want to show that people that we can do this and how we got it, right? All this is right here is the picture off my calculator screen. Okay. So here we go. So how do we do this? Let's go from -2 all the way over to 3. That's the only area that you're allowed to look in if you're on your calculator. And see how it hits at -3? That's right about there. And see how it hits down over here at -2? That's basically the window that you're allowed to look at. So which answer is not in the range? Which answer is not an appropriate y value that fits in that square? -4, right here, right? -4 is clearly out of the range. And another way that you could have done it is you could have also gone into the table of values and looked around, right? -4 is below -2. That would have also worked. Okay, we're skipping around a little bit, and we're going to attack number 4. First of all, what are we being asked to find? The greatest value in the range, which means what? Explain that in real simple terms. Yes, that's exactly what's being asked of you, the y value. I'm looking for you to try and figure out what is the largest y value if you're only allowed to plug in from -3 to 2 for x. So let's use our calculator and attack it that way. You go into the y equals screen, you enter this in, 3x plus 2. You then decide to go into the table of values. And you start searching around. Now, you're not allowed to go below -3 for the x values, and you're not allowed to go above 2. So, -7 is really small. -4, -1, 2, 5, 8. That's why. Okay. The answer is 8. All right, the next part of our lesson is evaluating functions graphically. So we don't have an equation, all we have is a picture, and we got to try and figure out what the question is asking us. Let's take question number 1. These are super easy, and all I'm going to do is write the notation up over here, okay? F at 1 equals. Wherever you see this, here's what I want you to do. Put a parentheses underneath it. Where you see the equal sign, put a comma. Now, guess what 1 corresponds to? It corresponds to the x coordinate, right? Look what it was subbed in for. So, now let's try and figure out what the question wants. It wants the y value that corresponds to x at 1. What is the y value when x is 1? Yeah, that's it. It's just -1. Choice C. And I know the answer on the bottom is for this question is wrong. But that's all you have to do. So let's try to try and do 2 and 3 real quickly and see if you get the hang of it. What's f at -2? Well, we're going to put a parenthesis down over there. We're going to put a comma. And what it really wants to know is, when x is -2, what's y? -2, up. Yeah, it's choice 3. Do you get it? Let's try the other one. Let's try the other one. F at 3, what's the answer? Yeah, f at 3, all you do is go over to 3 and then go up, and the answer is just 1. Last part of our lesson, how do you evaluate functions algebraically? So we've been given a question number 1. We've been given an equation. We said f of x equals x squared plus x minus 2. And we want to know what's the value of that function when x is equal to 3. So any ideas how do you solve a problem like this? Yeah, we just got to plug in, sub in for 3. So here we go. We're just going to sub 3 into our equation, and we're going to solve it. It's 9 plus 3 minus 2. What's 9 plus 3? Minus 2. Good. Yeah, and here's how you'd write it out. Literally, I want to see the work like this. F at 3, whoops, f at 3 equals 10. That's perfect, and that's all you have to do. All right, one other way to solve the problem, instead of doing it by hand, where we could make a mistake, you're allowed to use your calculator also as well. Plug it into your calculator, go looking at the table of values, right? Since we sub 3 in for x, what's the value of the function at 3? It's 10. So we've seen how to do it longhand. Now we're going to do extreme shorthand. How do you find the value of the function at a half? Well, you go try and check your table of values, and you're screwed, right? You don't see a half. Here's how you do this real fast. Hit the graph button. Hit the graph button. Now, hit second, trace, to get to the calculate screen. Click enter on the value button. This allows you to find any x value you ever wanted whenever you want it. Just click in a half, hit enter, and it does all the math for you, real fast and easy, and it will never get the wrong answer. So the answer to this one is negative 1.25. Okay, question number 3. Question number 3. You're now given, you've given f of x, and it tells you f of x equals 4 minus 1/2 x. You're also given the fact that f of x equals 1. And it wants to know how much x is if f of x equals 1. You could plug it in. You could literally just go into your calculator, okay, hit the y equals button, type in the original equation, 4 minus parentheses 1/2 x, and go into our table of values. And since it says f of x equals 1, which side are you looking on? Does that mean x equals 1 or y equals 1? Y equals 1, because everywhere we see f of x, that's y. So f of x equals 1, so we need to scroll around in our screen, and what's the answer? X is equal to 6. That's without doing any work. That's calculator based, but how do we show our work if I gave that to you as a short answer question? Ooh, not where x is. We can use a property from geometry and sub it in. See, f of x equals this stuff. F of x equals 1. Therefore, 1 must equal 4 minus 1/2 x, and you just solve it away. So we were running out of time, so I showed solving the equation, and the final answer is that x equals 6. But we saw that in the calculator also as well, and an easy problem, piece of cake. So final question of the day. This is another way to represent coordinates. It's called a mapping. This side on the left is typically the x, and this side on the right is f of x. What's another name for f of x? Perfect. Another name for f of x is y. So in other words, this over here could be shown in the following way. The following mapping, as it's called, can be rewritten in terms of coordinates, right? So take a look. The question asks, if f of x is 13, what's x? All you have to do is just go look for it. F of x is 13. Follow the arrow back. It's got to be 7. And that's the answer. Piece of cake, right? No. Wait, just before we end. Guys, is this a function? Yes, because no x values repeat.